Now, yes, thank you. And our first report for this part is analysis of models usability methods used on design stage to increase site optimization. Yes, and we have the presentation on the screen. Who will be presenting? Alexander, are you going to tell us? Alexander Shanidze, probably?
Yes, it's me. Good afternoon. So, if you hear me well, I'm going to start in.
Yes.
Your attention is called to report analysis of model usability methods used on design stage to increase site optimization. Authors Irina Cherednichenko, Irina Gluzdo, Gleb Tereshchenko, and Alexander Shanidze. This article is generally dedicated to the analysis of existing usability models and methods used in the design and analysis of software, particularly in building a high-quality interface solution during website design. To achieve this, a detailed study of existing usability models and methods, basic factors, rules, and principles of application development was carried out. The analytical aspects of usability for different operation system and interface features for different devices were considered. The main components of interface development or applications that most often affect popularity and aesthetic appeal from the user's perspective were identified. At the beginning of the work, a meaningful statement of the research problem was formulated and presented on this slide. In accordance with the general process of conducting the research, the study performed literature analysis, and this slide presents fragments of works on the analyzed issues, which demonstrates the historical aspect of the problem. It should be noted that all the approaches and models described in the literature are aimed at solving a specific task and therefore can only be applied to a narrow range of subject areas. In existing standards, guidelines, and publication by various authors, the concepts of quality, metrics, and usability are interpreted differently. In the course of the study, we adapted those that reflect their essence, shown on the slide. This is the result of combined both theoretical and practical findings. The solution to the problem from slide 3 involves the implementation of the following sequence of steps: clarifying the goals of usability analysis that exist in the practice of software development for which it is carried out, define the main stage of user interface design and in relation to the existing software development lifecycle of the selected type, consider the main classes of usability methods, critically analyze usability methods used at the design stage. When we consider user-centered design, we understand that it is necessary to optimize the product around how users can, want, or need to use their product, rather than forcing users to change their behavior to fit the product. In other words, the development process is based on principles that will ensure that the design is user-centered. The study identified and summarized the main problems that may arise at the software design stage. The result is shown on this slide. User-centered design asks questions about the users, their tasks and goals, and then uses the findings to make development and design decisions. User-oriented design for a website, for example, seeks to understand user needs. The goal that was chosen will determine the depth of the usability analysis, its focus, and what stages the user interface design process will consist of. At the same time, it is also necessary to determine what criteria the software must meet in terms of usability. There are a large number of articles devoted to determining the most attractive criteria. Among them, the following can be distinguished. It should be noted that there are different classes of methods applied for evaluating the interface. It is necessary having formulated a set of characteristic criteria to determine the effectiveness of applying each of the known usability methods to identify its necessity and use during the software development life cycle. In practice, the most commonly used usability criteria for evaluating interfaces are efficiency, learnability, productivity, and satisfaction. Since for this criteria, we can formulate the distinctive characteristic of high-quality interface: style flexibility, joint increase of functionality, scalability, independence from resources, cross-platform compatibility, and multimedia. Design development starts with people and ends with responses that reflect their individual needs. The study found that the stages of user interface designed for different types of software were vary considerably. Accordingly, in the order of facilitate the process of selecting technologies, models, methods, and metrics for interface development and evaluation, the study summarized existing processes. The exciting process of software design development was summarized, and the result is shown on the following slides. In general, the user interface development processes can be divided into the following main stage: studying the goals and objectives of the software and the composition of the required work, determining methods, metrics, and criteria for evaluating the software. The application of the above user-centered software development process enables each company to evaluate not only the general standard parameters of software quality, but also to focus on the key interface features of each specific solution. The 14 posters shows popular software estimation methods at the design stage, which allow measuring the values shown on the previous slide using different metrics depending on the stage of software implementation. To facilitate the process of the selection, we have studied those based on the description of business process and allowing to detect changes in individual parameters related to the development, implementation, and operation of software that are specifically related to the evaluation of interface. In the course of the analysis, in accordance with the general process of user interface development, the existing usability models and methods were divided into three classes: qualitative, quantitative, and mixed, and evaluation technologies. For this purpose, the study developed tables that allow selecting the necessary usability models and methods used in the process of development and evaluating the software interface, depending on the calculated criteria and implicit criteria, which in turn allows selecting the necessary metrics for assessing the quality of the software within the framework or the main indicators used for project estimation. In accordance with the above, we can conclude that each of the above technologies, as well as the selected models and metrics in one form or another, affects the assessment of interface quality factors. There is no ambiguous answer to the question of which usability assessment method should be applied in practice, because the use of usability testing tools depends on the types of software and evaluation standards and metrics adopted by the company budget and business focus. If you have time and resource constraints, you should start with the simplest and the least expensive techniques, namely quality ones. By choosing the right models, methods, metrics, and weights in accordance with the generalized design development process provided, you can formulate basic usability standards, reduce software development and technical support costs, increase software sales and popularity, and reduce risks. Then check was carried out on the necessity of using several types of methods in the design, development, and evaluation of the website calls HALAP2 interface in relation to the generalized software design process. As hand for the experimental evaluation of the ergonomics level of the website was prepared, which takes into account not only the successful competition of tasks on the site and their users' subjective satisfaction assessment, but also a number of objective indicators of reliability and psychological cost of user activity, allowing to obtain a quantitative indicator. On the current version of the Help Tour website, the theories outlined above were tested, and then a table of problems was completed according to the type to which they belong. In accordance with the generalized process of development, a user-centered design, competitor analysis was performed, and the result of the most common problems of competitors are shown on this poster. Also, based on the result of this check, it was decided that it was necessary to add promotion, sales, and possibly upcoming holidays to the main page, as other large travel agencies have long since begun to use. Outdoors research also identified the main use points. The most important thing for the user are a clear structure, pleasant appearance, the elements present do not distract from the content, presentation of information without repetition, is of perception, etc. All this allows you to analyze the market and competitors more specifically. The next step in accordance with the test was to identify the select models, methods, and metrics that would be used to develop and evaluate the interface. In parallel with the result obtained, the requirements for the new site were agreed upon and their information solution were developed. They were tested on pilot users, and then regular customers were invited to use the new version of the site and provide feedback. In course of research work, the results presented in poster were obtained. Thus, we can assert that the models and methods systemized during the research process conversely cover and the software interface design and evaluation process and programs. The improved user-oriented generalized software design process allows for detailed assessment of the necessary work, making it an effective tool for studying the ergonomics of software. The obtained results will allow us to continue the work on analyze statistical metrics for software evaluation used in the development of software projects throughout the entire software development life cycle. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Alexander. Right, so quite a nice topic to start with. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I have one question. Alexander.
Yeah, Karyna, please.
You said that you have discovered more than 20 usability models and methods during project implementation. And could you tell us which methods were more useful for your experiment for analysis of your website?
Okay, thanks for your question. Maybe I can't say you about some only one method because they all we was used some mixed methods and I can say just about the one. So that's my that's what I want to say.
So every method has some conclusion, yeah.
But I can say about my user experience, and for me the most important it's maybe soft and I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's
Yes,
okay just to begin with your answer.
Yes.
It's probably, Karyna, I think that it's probably the point of further research. Though
Yeah,
the
maybe.
point of view of the user, that's very important. And I see that we still have one more question. Vyacheslav, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good day, dear colleagues, and thank you for possibility to participate in this session. Alexander, thank you for your presentation, and I have two questions. First one, you demonstrate slide with attributes related to usability. It's a long list of different attributes, including safety. Please explain why you use these attributes. I mean safety, because you usually to assess quality or usability of human machine interface applied such attribute as security, and there are standards where this connection, usability, and security describe and formulate requirements to usability and security. Hence, my question is why you use attribute safety concerning human machine interface? What does it mean, safety in context of usability?
Yes, thank you for your question. It means safety ways to take information from the software or give information to the software. I mean that you know, we have an ethic rules and some specific software that can be used with all of the people. I'm sorry, but I think you understand. And it means safety, not just like an ethic, just like in programs way. So it must be, as an example, not having any virus or pretending to this. So something just like that. If
maybe in this case you mean some critical software, critical systems, because safety is attributes of such kind of system interface.
Yes, so I mean that maybe just not very
Okay,
well, but yes.
Thank you. And my second question is, what about any standards which you take into account to suggest this model of usability, and any quantitative metrics which you can use to assess usability as attributes of quality?
So thank you for your question one more time. I need some time to think how I can respond to you. So
Vyacheslav and Alexander, maybe we can thank you for your question, thank you for your participation. Maybe we can continue at the end of the section, if you don't mind, or at the end of the part if we have time, because now we are a bit out of limit.
Okay,
and
thank you.
Alexander will have time to think your question over. Okay.
Okay.
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, let's go on. Let's proceed. So our next topic is social computing of the social well-being of refugees and internally displaced persons in Ukraine using data mining methods. Right, so also very tackling and also very painful topic. So, but we are ready to discuss it.
Yes, thank you. It's also my my report. So
okay, so Alexander, do start the presentation, and we are ready to listen to it. Okay. And while you're getting ready, I remind all our participants that we have a 15-minute limit for one report, 10 minutes for the report itself, and 5 minutes for discussion. If we have some questions which are needed, which are required to be discussed, then we'll do it at the end of the section if we have time. Okay. Yes, Alexander, you're welcome.
Do you see my presentation? New presentation, I mean. I need.
Yeah, it's okay. It's started.
Okay. Thank you. So the topic of this presentation is social computing of the social well-being of refugees and internally displaced persons in Ukraine using data mining methods. The work was carried out at the Department of Sociology and Public Administration of the National Technical University Kharkiv Polytechnic Institute by Professor Marina Ugolnikova, Associate Professor Nataliia with the involvement of Associate Professor Cherednichenko and Alexander Shanidze, graduate student of department. The object of our research is refugees and forcibly displaced persons who left their homes during the military aggression in Ukraine. The purpose of the research is to carry out social computing of the social well-being of refugees and internally displaced persons of Ukraine in the first 6 months of the military aggression with the help of EAD using data mining methods. Sociology also turned out to be involved in the process of applying various computer technologies for working with data. In particular, the possibilities and potential ways of developing computational sociology are being discussed today. The state of social well-being of refugees are forcibly displaced persons during the military aggression against Ukraine in 2022. Number of respondents, 1,170 people, was studied using factor analysis, the methods of classification, methods of multi-dimensional scaling, and two-dimensional distribution of data. Our research was conducted in the summer of 2022. On the slide, you can see from which of the Ukraine the response refugees and forcibly displaced persons who participate in our research came from. We processed the data to which European countries refugees from Ukraine left. Also, in our research, an important part was taken up by the study of the gender aspect of the social well-being of refugees. This concerned various aspects of their life activities. For example, you can see the distribution of respondents by different types of employment until February 22, dependence of gender. The result of the study have shown that the majority of respondents assessed their own state at the beginning of the war as narrow steps. We can state that women showed more composure and determination. The fact that women perceived the reality of war much more than men was indicted. And vice versa, many men were not concerned about the threat of hostilities, that on the destruction of answer to this question. Of the time of the survey, July 2022, respondents rated their own psychological state on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 means the maximum level of calmness, confidence that everything will be fine, and 10 the maximum level of panic, fear, uncertainty. During the survey, the following result was obtained: a total score of 5.9500. In other words, the feeling of anxiety and insecurity still prevailed. Also, it should be noted that the respondents' assessment of their emotional state worsened at the time of the survey compared to the beginning of the war. In the table 3, a comparison of the average values of the mood assessment at the time of the start of the war and the time of the survey is presented. Social well-being, as it was mentioned earlier, is determined by many factors, not at the list of which there is the feeling of family, motherland, hometown, where there is a home. That is the location where a person feels at home. That is why measurements of social well-being were carried out a person's decision to evacuate. The social well-being of refugees and forcibly displaced persons is determined by their emotional state, which is influenced by the persons of loved ones and family. The average value of the emotional state was determined by us in the form of a correlation with the above question by estimating the average value. Slide shows data on the assessment of the emotional state of forcibly displaced person, which in our opinion was directly affected by the circumstances of evacuation and separation with the families. The proposal of next step in the analysis of the social feelings of refugees and IDPs of Ukraine after the first half of the war was to determine the degree of readiness of Ukrainians at the time of the war, not so much for the war itself, but for active social practice to protect themselves, their families, and the state as a whole. To do this, firstly, a received solution where expectation was found with the help of factor analysis using the methods of principal components, rather than the classification of respondents according to their emotional state on the eve of the war. Turning to the analysis of multi-dimensional distribution, namely two prep-scale multidimensional scaling methods, a visualization of the sample of respondents was carried out, taking into account the degree of closeness according to the Minkowski scale, according to indicators of gender, emotional state at the beginning of the war, and assessment of one's own state during the research. Social computing is a link of the evolution of methods for analyzing the result of quantitative sociological research. The methods of factor analysis were used to classify the sample of respondents according to their emotional state at the beginning of the war and to determine that less than half of Ukrainians emotionally angry and were ready for active social practice. In general, representatives of the social group of refugees and IDPs of Ukraine in 2022 have typical social features and carry out certain social practices, which are determined by common motives for moving and characteristics by similar strategies and tactics, which are based on a certain social capital and supported by a certain circle of social partners. In May, we plan to publish a monograph that will reflect the result of our research. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Alexander. Oh, great. Now, do we have any questions concerning this sociological? Sorry. Oh, yeah, Karyna, you're welcome.
Yes, Alexander, I have one question. Are you planning to develop information system which our government maybe can use for understanding problems of refugees and internally displaced people?
Oh, thank you. So I think we are scientists. So yes, we're doing something for change the situation by creating a new methods of the investigations and so my answer is yes.
Okay, I hope for it.
Well, that's definite answer. That's great. Okay, any more questions? Right, then I have a question from a point of view of sociology. We have already spoken about financial point of view. So the sociological point of view, the crisis, the conflict in Ukraine, and we may say that the situation currently is a crisis, probably. Does it have any similarities in history? And do we have any methods to deal with the problem arising today, which we can use? So some effective methods which have already been developed and which can be used today. Or do we have to somehow develop some new methods?
Thank you for your question. At once, I must say that our work not about some new methods to win the crisis or to fight with them, but In my opinion, I think yes, we need to find new methods because situation right now, not so many examples in history. We're doing really new stuff in each part of problems. So financial, sociological, and sociological is in our in our report is about refugees. So we have a really new situation because if we spoke about our situation or situation at past, it's different situations. So yes, we need to find something new.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your answer. And also, well, any other questions? Well, no more questions so far, and maybe they will arise later. Now we go on, and we turn to our third report for now. It is minimizing security risks and improving system reliability in blockchain applications, a testing method analysis. Right, do we have anyone who will present this report?
Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, Olga. Yes, you may share your screen and open your presentation, and we shall start. And I'm reminding everyone that you can questions to our chat. If something goes wrong and we face some technical troubles, then you can see and watch all the presentations and reports in our YouTube channel. Right, Olga, you're welcome to start your report, please.
Good afternoon. I would like to present the report on topic minimizing security risks and improving system reliability in blockchain applications, a testing method analysis. Authors are Cherednichenko, Olga, and Nataliia. There are many systems that process and save customers' personal information, and every client would like to be sure that their personal data will be transmitted, processed, and stored confidentially, securely, and credibly. To solve this problem, many systems use certain encryption algorithm or technologies to ensure the integrity, reliability, and confidentiality of transmitted or received data. Today, the most popular of this is blockchain technology. One of the most important stages of system development is testing. Therefore, the main goals of the research are to determine the impact of the testing method on security and reliability on the blockchain-based systems, to minimize security risks, and to improve system reliability in blockchain applications. Blockchain technology has its own advantages. Blockchain supports immutability, meaning that it's impossible to erase or replace already recorded data. Blockchain is decentralized, which means that any participant in the network can verify their data. Blockchain technology is free from censorship because it's not controlled by any site. And blockchain creates an irreversible auditable trail that allows to easily track changes in the network. To ensure the security and reliability of system based on blockchain technology, it's necessary to pay special attention to the following methods during the testing process. These are functional, security, and penetration testing. Functional testing is one of the most basic and fundamental testing methods for any system. Adapting this method to systems based on blockchain technology, the following checks can be identified within this method. Checking the block and chain size, checking the ability to transfer data, checking the ability to add new blocks, and checking the smart contracts. The next test method that should be included in the test strategy is penetration testing. Blockchain penetration testing allows QA engineers to create and execute test cases that simulate the behavior of keyboard attacks to see if the actions of any unauthorized user in the system will be blocked. This method involves testing that simulates real-world scenarios by attempting to lock in-third network services, wireless networks, social engineering networks, and blockchain applications. Security testing is also one of the most important testing methods. At this stage, QA should check whether the blockchain application is fully protected from attacks, including viruses and malware. Any outgoing transaction or data transfer cannot be stopped, so QA must identify potential threats through security testing. Also, at this stage, you should make sure that the blockchain system prevents the processing of faulty or damaged data before it becomes a risk for the user. Each bug has its own weight, which depends on many factors. This includes criticality of the bug from a technical point of view, from the business logic point of view, time spent on the fix, complexity of the fix from a technical point of view, time spent on checking the fix, complexity of checking the fix, potential risks after the fix, potential risks if the bug was not found, and time of detection. Most defects end up costing more than it would have to cost to prevent them. Defects are expensive when they occur, both the direct cost of fixing the defects and the indirect costs because of damaged relationships, lost business, and lost development time. Therefore, it makes sense to consider the dependence of the impact on system security if bug is found and fix it at the 13th stage of testing. The following bugs were found during unit testing. First bug was found during block size checks as part of the functional testing. Second was found during checks of the ability to add blocks as part of the functional testing. And third was found during smart contracts checks. The following bugs were found during integration testing. First bug was found during chain size check as part of the functional testing. Second was found during checks of the ability to transfer data as part of the functional testing. And third bug was found during smart contracts checks. The following bugs were found during system testing. First was found during checks of the ability to transfer data as part of the functional testing. Second was found during smart contracts checks. Third was found during checks of the system security as part of the security testing. And fourth was found during checks of the system security as part of the penetration testing. The following bugs were found during acceptance testing. First was found during checks of the ability to transfer data as part of the functional testing. Second was found during smart contracts checks. Third was found during checks of the system security as part of the security testing. And fourth was found during checks of the system security as part of the penetration testing. Correct testing of the system at the unit testing stage can significantly reduce the number of severity of risks, including those to user data security. If a critical bug is not found at this stage, the cost of the mistake will increase depending on which of the subsequent testing stages it's found. Problems with the integration of system components also have a significant impact on the security and reliability of the system. The cost of a mistake at this stage will also be much lower than at one of the subsequent stages. However, the potential risks after fix are much lower than the potential risks if the bug was not found at this stage. Security and penetration testing should be conducted during system testing to ensure that the system is stable and meet the specified data security requirements. Current table represents the summary data with the average weight and price of the bug found at one of the testing stages, as well as for the case when bug related to system security was found in production. Summarizing the results at each stage of the experiment, we can conclude that special attention should be paid to unit and integration testing. After all, it's from this point on that the cost of bug begins to grow exponentially. However, system and acceptance testing also play a significant role in the security of the blockchain-based system. Therefore, to minimize security risk and increase system reliability in blockchain application, it's necessary to perform functional testing at each stage of testing. Particular attention should be paid to the testing of smart contracts. Security and penetration testing should also be performed as part of the system testing. Summarizing the results of the research, we can conclude that during the planning of the testing process, special attention should be paid to functional testing and testing of smart contracts as part of it, because this testing method can provide confidence in the reliability of the system from the first stage of the testing. The results of the research can be used at the planning stages of the testing process, such as creating a test strategy and a test plan. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Olga, for your report. And do we have any questions? Vyacheslav, yes, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. And I have one question. You thought about increasing of reliability and minimizing of cybersecurity risks. What about any metrics, any quantitative indicators which could confirm that your result assure improving of these attributes?
Thanks for your question. All rates that were presented are based on the work experience from the developer, QA, and release manager point of view.
You mean the table which you shown is a result of expert assessment of reliability and security?
Yeah.
Which kind of methods of expert assessment did you use to get this result? I mean, how this table, content of this table with assessment have been obtained? Because it's assessment, it's expert assessment. I ask it. It's very simple question. How you obtained this table with information about the result of assessment? Usually, if you talk about reliability of system, there are typical indicators which can be used to assess. If you talk about security risk, it may be criticality metrics or any other methods which can assess risk indicators. Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Probably these are the questions that should be further developed within your research. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a little question.
Yes, Karyna, you're welcome.
Could you tell us, you got some values of bug cost and weight. Could you describe the software which you have tested?
Thanks for your question. During testing process, was used our own system.
Okay, and what's the purpose of the system or functionality of the system?
This is a system for medicine purposes. Personal customer data was saved in this system.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Vyacheslav, would you like to ask some other questions? Some other question? Or shall we leave this topic for discussion for maybe for the end of this section? All right, thank you, Olga. Right, and we'll go on. So the testing is also such a tricky sphere, and we proceed and we go on to the next to our next topic, and this is a method of routine of fractal-like traffic with prediction of router load for reduce the probability of network packet loss. And do we have the representatives? So who is going to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dear
Okay,
colleagues,
yeah, you're
good
welcome.
afternoon. Yes, thank you. Dear colleagues, I'm glad to present to you our research method of routing of fractal-like traffic with prediction of router load for reduce the probability of network packet loss by Elizaveta Meleshko, Hanna Dreeva, Alexander Dreev, Mykola Kimko, Volodymyr Mikhov, and Cherednichenko. The relevance of this study is determined by the constant growth of the load on modern computer networks. Therefore, an important scientific and practical problem solved in this work is the development of models and methods for adaptive routing during high network traffic intensity in order to reduce the number of lost packets. Mathematical models nowadays, mathematical models of self-similar time series are most often used for the mathematical description of network traffic. Therefore, fractal analysis and synthesis of network traffic was mainly used to solve the chosen scientific and practical problem. Here we can see the proposed mathematical model of fractal traffic, in particular the Markov chain for its generation. You can see it here, and the proposed measure for fractal dimension, such a formula. Due to the fact that traffic in networks is segmented by packets, it was decided to model binary traffic at the packet present, packet absent level. This slide shows the dependence of the probability of network packet loss on the traffic intensity, tau, and the fractal dimension updated on the basis of the proposed traffic model at the previous slide here, which later performed the basis of the proposed traffic routing methods. Here we can see the probability of packet loss. This is the approximation from the numerical modeling from this figure in such a form. And the essence of proposed method of traffic routing, the stages, is that we can use the fractal properties of the traffic to predict and transform the routing tables on the routers. The stages. Stages 1. OSP if routed protocol is launched. Open short path first. At first, it operates in normal mode, but on each router, traffic statistics are accumulated for a certain time interval, T subscript n. At stage 2, based on the obtained traffic statistics for time 10, the fractal dimension of traffic is calculated. And based on it, the probability of packet loss PD tau is predicted in the future of each router. Router exchanges the packet loss as it in OSP routing protocol. Usual way via hello messages. The predicted packet loss probability is used as an addition metric. Here, M2 with some weight, where M1 is the standard metric. And the implementation, to implement such method, we simulate a computer network. Stages of simulation of such network are the next. Stage 1, we simulate network based on well-known Barabasha-Albert model, check whether generator network is fully connected. If not, connect all unconnected components. Stage 3, assigning weights to edges that depended on not they connect. The more connection a node has, the lower the weight of edge connected it. At stage 4, generate traffic packets for transmission. A random number of packets with random destinations is sent to each node with a certain probability, and we use traffic generated with Markov processes. Stage 5, we test 3 routing algorithms, OSPF with average mean prediction, and our method based on fractal dimensity. And completion of the model's work. The model stops when it reaches a certain number of iterations, for example, 1,000, or if the model the stopping condition can also be when all the queues are empty, or packets are either sent or lost. Here we can see the examples of computer network structures, some different based on our models. All networks are connected. Here the examples of binary series aggregated by 25 counts. The first when nodes tends to state in the same state, probabilities 0.9 and 0.9, and the second, the low probability 0.05 tends to change at every step. And as results of proposed routing method that was conducted, we have for 3 fractal dimension, 0.25, 0.5, and 0.75. The first is anti-persistent. Any tendency tends to change in the opposite direction. The second, totally random, and the third, persistent, when a tendency may to trend. And here we can see methods. The first method is OSPF. The second, OSPF with prediction, based on moving average method, and our our method based on fractal dimensity of traffic. At first, you can see that with anti-persistent traffic, the probability is almost all the same. Our is a little better. At the average, you can see the average values of lost. We have more, but and the second with persistent also we have better values of lost packets. And to
Excuse
conclude,
me, Mikola, we are getting out of schedule already in 15 minutes. Could you, oh yeah, conclusions. So you can
your
sum it up.
conclusions, all what we have, we propose computer model of computer network was developed to test traffic routing algorithms. Method based on of the theory complex networks was developed to generate structure of computer network. A method for routing fractal-like traffic with prediction of router congestion was also developed to reduce the probability of packet loss congestion. The quality of proposed routing method was studied in computer network with fractal traffic using a computer simulation model, and the results what we have about 8% for random or persistent traffic compared to the standard OSPF routing methods. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. And very briefly, do we have any questions?
Yes,
2
a
minutes.
little one.
Karyna, you're welcome.
Yeah, Nikolai, your research allowed to generate structure of the computer network. How to check or understand that proposed structure is optimal?
We use very well-known Barbache-Albert model that it was checked by Barbache. We have believe in them, and in our previous studies, I can conclude that such a network represent real ones. Sadly, due to our constricted computer performance, we didn't use very large networks, but all what we can have. Not very great networks, but we can change some dependence.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Any other questions? Well, okay, no questions so far, and our chat is also empty. So thank you very much for participating in this part. I remind you that you can find all the videos and presentations at our YouTube channel. And we are going to proceed to continue in 15 minutes. So at 2:30 in Kiev and in 1:30 in Europe. Right, so in 15 minutes, we are continuing our section. Thank you very much. See you all in 15 minutes.